I think so many people were captivated by Kanye West's rollout for Donda because it felt like the fans were part of the making of the album. We got to hear songs go from incomplete to finished. We got to hear additions of features on songs like Getting Kid Cudi on Moon. And what's pretty cool too is that Mike Dean actually went into a fan Discord server, which was called West Sub Ever, and he actually asked fans which version of Hurricane they wanted to see make the album. So he told fans, I'm showing these comments to Kanye, and he put up a poll asking them which version they wanted to see. And the one that they voted for was a blend of the original version of Hurricane and the one that featured Lil Baby and The Weeknd. That's the one that ended up winning, and that's the one that ended up making the album, showing that fans actually had a say in the released version of Donda. And that was so exciting, and who knows, maybe this video could end up being another hub for Kanye's team to look for feedback and suggestions from the fans. So in today's video, we'll be building Donda 2, and we want you guys to build it with us in the comment section. And it's pretty cool. The categories that we have go like this. We're starting off with album features, then we go on to the number of songs, choosing a part 2 to a song, then the producers, and then the album's direction. So how do you feel about this,
I'm
bro?
super excited. It feels like you're doing your own Build-A-Bear version of a Kanye album, and there's a lot that goes into this. So I'm going to ask you another question. Like, what's the category that probably took the most time to think about? Like,
Probably
what was
the album's direction, because as a sequel, it's the first time in Kanye's career. It's kind of, has a lot of question marks, so I would say that. What about you?
I would probably say the features because it was such a big experience for me and such a big key moment, with the whole original rollout. So it's going to be fun. Let's get this going. So starting off with the features, how do you feel about it, and who would you like to see make this album?
Listen, I love the fact that we had like 30 features on Donda, but for this one, I wanted to go with a more concise list. So I actually have 10 features that I want to see on Donda 2, and I'll read them out. So I have Drake, Future, Kid Cudi, A$AP Rocky, Rihanna, Travis Scott, Migos, Lil Uzi Vert, Nas, and Kendrick Lamar. And listen, a big crucial point in any Kanye album is the feature list, because they end up taking a lot of runtime on the album, and we know how iconic those feature and guest performances end up being on a Kanye album. So I ended up choosing a lot of favorites from Kanye and a couple of artists that have never been featured on a Kanye album. But read me through your list before we get into more depth with our choices.
All right, so one was Don Toliver. I want to see what he's able to do again. Moon was fantastic. Kid Cudi has to be there for me. Pusha T, Drake. It's been since Glow, so it'd be awesome to see how they would be able to reconnect on here.
So you have 4.
Playboy Cardi, I have 12 in total. Fabio Foreign, Ty Dolla $ign, because he didn't have that much of a performance on Junior, and I'd like to hear more vocals from him, or maybe even a hook. Then I had Vori. Now for the new faces that I like to see on here, I said Drake already, but Benny the Butcher,
nice.
He didn't make Keep My Spirit Alive, so I wanted to see how he would fit onto this track list. Brent Faiyaz, proven vocalist, and I think he would have actually had a really nice place on Donda. He's a great vocalist, and he's proven that he can make smash hits. I mean, Missed Calls is one of the biggest songs out right now. It's going viral on TikTok, so I think it would be a great addition for the track list. And James Blake, I mean, I want to see what that would sound like.
That'd
I feel as if it could, fit into the psychedelic realm. So, how are you feeling about my track list?
I like it a lot. I think the Drake conversation's a nice one, because hearing, let's say Future, Drake, and Ye on the same song could be special. Future can kind of link them together. And I've listened to songs like I'm the Plug and Digital Dash, and I can really hear Kanye rapping over those beats. I chose artists like Lil Uzi, A$AP Rocky, and Migos because we know that Kanye ends up getting career best performances out of artists like Fabio Foreign, like he did with Rick Ross on Devil in a New Dress, and I feel like he can get that out of Lil Uzi or out of Migos, for example. So that was pretty interesting too. I'd also like to see Kendrick and Nas on the same song, because after We Major and No More Parties in LA, both of those songs are over 6 minutes. They're epics, and you have some of Kanye's best rapping performances. So to see those 3 lyricists all together would be really dope. But yeah, what about you? What are some of the link-ups you would say that you'd want to see?
I wouldn't necessarily say link-ups, but I would just say like the feature to track list ratio, because I'm going to explain my track list later, but I wanted to cut it down from what it originally was on Donda, on the original version of Donda, because there was too many features, I feel as if, and yes, it was such a strong point, but maybe with less features, I give more runtime to Ye on this. And some that I feel as if would work together, Pusha T and Benny the Butcher, that's what I feel as if would work. Brent Faiyaz and Vori, that could be a really nice track. Pusha T, I said Pusha T and Benny the Butcher. I'd probably say Drake and Ye. I think that they need a solo song together. But, what's been the most exciting part about this whole Donda 2 experience and the rollout for you?
I think it's been seeing everyone that he's bringing into the studio. And look, I'll be honest, seeing someone like Blueface might not get everybody excited, but you have to realize that no one expected Fabio Foreign to kill it on Off the Grid. So maybe Kanye, gets a career best out of Blueface, and I trust him. I trust whoever he works with because, who knows what he brings out of these artists because he always brings out the magic and, maybe he'll turn Blueface into Shakespeare for a song. You know what I mean? You never know what could happen, but at the end of the day, I trust Kanye's judgment, but those are the artists I would have wanted to see. Let's now go into the number of songs that we have on our Donda 2 album. So how many songs do you have, man?
What did I put down here? I think I had put down 16 songs. Yes,
all right, explain that.
So half of the Donda track list, I feel as if like that could be a good indicator. I did originally say that I wanted it to be trimmed because when I was going through that first, let's say, album experience when I was listening to it first time.
A bit bloated.
It was bloated, right? Like there was certain tracks that weren't needed and I want to see how it's going to be on that. And by the way, guys, we're going to be doing our live album reaction to Donda 2 once it releases. We do live album reactions on the weekly. So if you guys want to access that, visit the link in the description. But I mean, looking at this album, I feel as if there needs to be a trim here. So how many songs did you choose and why did you choose them?
Yeah, so listen, I wasn't too happy with the excessive amount of songs that we got on Donda, but with Kanye West, he can give me 150 songs and I'll listen to all of them. But with the Donda experience, we got 27 songs plus 5 songs on the actual deluxe, totaling 32. So I want a more, I would say, cohesive Kanye experience. So I went with 12 songs, and if you think about it, if you look at track lists like Graduation, 808s and Heartbreak, or My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, they're all within that 10 to 13 songs range, and that's the perfect length for a Kanye album for me, so that's what I ended up going with. But my prediction is I think it's going to be around the length of The Life of Pablo, where it's about 20 songs, and it'll probably have a similar structure where it's creative but kind of messy. But I personally would like to see 12 songs on the track list.
One thing I do want to see, though, is more runtime from Kanye, because one thing I felt as if I didn't get enough of on Donda was that Kanye experience, right? Like, I want to see more solo tracks. I want to see how he's going to perform different things. And I got that on Donda, don't get me wrong, but I feel as if the feature list was so prominent that it kind of tied Kanye. It went hand in hand with it, which I could kind of understand at this point because Kanye is also a curator, so it's also who he brings into this album. But one thing that I noted down in my notes here from when I was building it was I really want to hear Kanye on this. I really want to hear what he has to say because that could be a different direction for this album, which we'll be talking about later into the video. So how do you feel about that? Would you want him to have more runtime on this track?
Yeah,
list?
for sure. But it could also be a situation like, St. Pablo, where you have Kanye dominating the whole track, but you have that Sampha hook, which is coming in at key points and just really adding the smooth effect to it. So it'll have to depend, but I'm cool with all of that. Let's now go into choosing a part 2. So for this category, we have to take an old Kanye song from a previous album and, kind of predict a sequel that we want to see on Donda 2. So what did you go with here? Because I was struggling between 2 songs.
Okay, what were the 2 songs you were struggling between?
I was struggling between Only One and 2 Words.
Okay, 2 words, really? That's an original pick. I think I have a basic pick, though. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
I got Reborn Part 2. I feel as if that could
okay.
be really nice into the context of Donda. I feel as if the fans would want to see it. If Kid Cudi's on this album, it could happen. But I mean, they're always into creating original material. So how do you think that would even sound? Because that was a collaboration album. It was a different era of Kanye. So how do you think it would go into it?
That'd be dope. I mean, I love when Kanye West tackles, mental health, and that song that whole album, just had Kanye rapping in such a raw manner, and I loved it. So that would be dope to see.
How about you? Like, explain me the
2 words.
I want to hear
the 2 words. I actually I don't know. I was bumping College Dropout, and I'm like, 2 Words is really one of the most underrated Kanye songs. And if you look at that song, it features Mos Def. And the whole idea of 2 Words is the fact that Mos Def and Kanye's verses, they're rapping with this flow where it's literally 2-syllable patterns. So you'll have, for example, 2 words, Mos Def, K West, hot shit. It's always that 2-syllable pattern. But I thought about, what if the sequel to that is 3 words? And instead of the 2-syllable patterns, you have 3 words that fall into that pattern, and you get Migos featured on it because they have their iconic triplet flow, and it ends up being a fucking trap version of 2 words. That'd be so awesome because, I mean, I'm thinking about it, and it would be so dope because the flows would be super quick, and it'd be a flip on an old Kanye song, and it'd be maybe an upgraded version. Think about the anthem that would be, bro. The Migos and Kanye West on a song. It'd be insane.
Okay, so let's say you had to put a bet on it right now. Do you think that Kanye West would take your advice for this part too? Would you think he would go for it?
I think it'd be genius. I don't think that there's a likelihood of it, but another one would be Only One, because on that song, Kanye West is actually singing through the perspective of his mother Donda, so that would kind of play into the whole Donda theme, and that's one of the most emotional and moving Kanye songs I've ever heard. So to hear a sequel to that would be wonderful, but. I think that wraps it up. I want to see 3 Words make it, and a Reborn sequel would also be really awesome. But let's now go on to the production and the producers that we want to see here. So, what kind of direction did you go with? Did you choose a certain lane of producers, or
I chose 4 main producers I want to see on here because, as I said, Kanye's a curator, and if you go through the production credits of Donda, there's 50 different producers on here, so it would take too long to talk about all of them. But I feel as if the four main ones that could really shape up this album, one of them is going to be Metro Boomin. I feel as if
Absolutely.
Kanye wants to go into this modern direction where there's some trap influence, where he wants to get some bangers, where you want a second, where you want not a second version, because there is a second version of Father Stretch My Hand, but you want another one of those on the album, that could be a thing. Mike Dean, of course. Guitar riffs, synths, engineering, that's an essential part of it. I don't think he's gone. Boy Wonder, drum programming, and he's done a load of Kanye material, and one of the best producers in the industry, and someone that could really go nice with a lot of different creative artists. Plus, he has access to the most underrated and most skilled producers in the industry on his team, so seeing what they could do on here. Furthermore, 88 Keys. 88 Keys had some of the best production credits on Donda, being Hurricane, Jail, Remote Control, Heaven and Hell, and more. So seeing him make a return on here and add something would be awesome, but that was kind of my approach with it, because if you look at a Kanye West album and the soundscape of it, it always changes, it's super unpredictable, and you can't even attribute one genre to the type of style there is. So what was your direction for the production?
It's kind of a similar direction. I think that, with Future executive producing the album, I'm expecting this to be influenced by Southern hip-hop and trap-style beats. So I'm expecting a very triumphant sound. I'm expecting heavy bass lines, really hard 808s. So the producers that I chose include Mike Dean, who's a prerequisite for any Kanye West album in the production. I have Zaytoven, who can bring in those mesmerizing piano keys.
Absolutely.
Of course, Metro Boomin for his ear of sequencing and also giving us maybe another beat drop like he did on Father Stretch My Hands Part 1. I also have Daft Punk, because what I want with this album, I'll kind of spoil my direction a little bit. I want Kanye West to revive the trap game. I want him to revive that scene, and with the electronic synths that Daft Punk brought on Yeezus, it felt new, it felt experimental and innovative, and I know Daft Punk are retired, but to see them maybe come back for a couple of production credits here would be awesome. I also have Kenny Beats, who's a super creative producer and who hasn't worked with Kanye, so that would be awesome. I have Charlie Heat, who has production credits such as Facts, Champions, Piss on Your Grave, Famous, and more, so he can bring in that triumphant sound and some distorted drums and all that good stuff. So apart from that, Madlib, After No More Parties in LA.
That would be massive.
And Travis Scott, who has been apparently, been making beats for Kanye for this new album. So that's kind of my direction. And at the end of the day, I just want it to be, music that really, hits hard, I would say. I want some slappers on here.
That's absolutely correct. But let's go into the album direction. So this is the most important part of the whole album. It's probably the most important part of any album. So where do you think you want to go with this? Like, put yourself into the first listening experience. What would wow you the most, and what are you looking for as a fan?
Well, it's interesting because with Donda 2 being the title, we're expecting maybe Kanye to pick up on the themes he left off with on the Donda album, which was him being spiritually connected to his mother, him working through a hardship in his life, which was his divorce. So do I think he's going to, maintain that? I'm not too sure. What I think he will do is try to revive the soundscape of trap music and make it sound new again. That's what I would want to see, is him reviving that sound. Then what he could do is maybe take that new era synthwave and trap style production that would have been featured on, let's say, TurboGrafx 16, mixed in with the subject matter that would have been on the scrapped album, which was So Help Me God, where kind of focusing on the beauty of the struggle. Maybe we'll have him juxtaposing moments of his childhood growing up and also where he's at now, kind of seeing a full circle event for Kanye's life, because I feel like he will be bringing braggadocious bars. He will be kind of flexing, and that's what I kind of want to see out of Kanye. I want music that ignites strong emotion. Maybe him giving us tales about when he first signed to Rockefeller Records. Maybe him going through what it felt like to be a father for the first time. I just want emotional music from Kanye within that realm of having that trap style production. So that's kind of where I see it going. And with the whole Black Future Month, maybe, Kanye bringing new ideologies to the world. That's where I'm at. What about you?
Okay, so I don't want a part 2 to Donda. Like, I know the whole
Yeah.
thing is Donda 2, but I don't want it to seem like it's just a copy paste of it. Like that wouldn't seem nice to me, because what's interesting about Kanye West is that he reinvents himself every single time he drops a project. We've mentioned this on multiple occasions when talking about Kanye West on the podcast. So I just want to see where he's at in his headspace, because that was such a prominent mark for me on the first Donda experience and in all of Kanye's albums. I mean, even going to Jesus is King, like, that was cool because you got to see, how deep he was into his faith, and you got to see where he was at in his headspace. You got to see on Ye, how he tackled mental health, and KSG had that similar subject matter. The Life of Pablo was more, crazed out Ye and like all kinds of manic Ye, and, talking about, let's say the Taylor Swift incident, and it was a bit controversial. Yeezus was braggadocious. So was MBDTF. So what I wanted to see out of this was something that he had actually said, or someone had said, where, it was, he wants this to be played at births, graduations, weddings, and funerals. So maybe something that has a bit more of an uplifting energy and spirit to it. And one thing I don't want it in the album is full of like sneak disses and like bitterness. Like, that's something that I want to see in here, because I know, the big blogs and everyone's going to play into it. Like, there's the whole Pete Davidson thing, but this is music, this is a catalog. This is serious for me. So I don't want it to be filled with all kinds of like, corny stuff and like that sort of stuff. And I don't think Kanye would ever do that. But that's somewhere I don't want the album to go. But as far as the sonic direction, Kanye has always been one to take certain subgenres and flip them on their head and create his own version of it. So what you were saying about the trap, I had it in my notes actually, but I want to hear maybe soulful trap. I want to hear how, he's going to be able to bring in different sampling techniques and match them with certain drum patterns and more 808s and, certain things that are key staples within that trap area. So with all that being said, that's kind of my direction. So how are you feeling about it? How are you
It's
feeling about the
awesome, bro. I
albums?
mean, we'll have to end up seeing what we end up getting if Kanye West does drop Donda 2 on February 22nd. I mean, that's the whole thing, is that this album might get scrapped and it might turn into another Yandy or another project that we never get to hear. But nonetheless, it's going to be super fun to go through your comments, guys, and to see the Donda 2 version that you guys made. Thank you guys so much for watching. And of course, as this rollout progresses, we will be keeping you guys updated. We are going to be dropping a review to Donda 2 once it drops, and our reaction on our Patreon plan, which you guys can access in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching the full video, and if you're new to NFR, be sure to hit that subscribe button, as we'll be keeping you guys updated with the latest album releases in terms of update videos, album reviews, and our own original series on the weekly. And we also have our Patreon plan available in the description below, where you can access weekly bonus content and also access to our Discord. So be sure to check out all of that, and we'll catch you in the next one.